So this question here is involving exponents. We have a negative bracket -1 all to the 50. Now be careful. Do not combine two negatives to be positive. This question is the same thing as -1 times -1 to the 50. So according to BEDMAS, we need to work on the exponents before we actually multiply by -1. So let's focus on this exponent. -1 to the 50, this is even, so we have -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 many times, but overall, when we have a negative number with an even exponent, this whole power becomes positive, +1. So the answer is -1 times 1, which is simply -1. If you made the mistake of combining two negatives to be a positive, your answer would be +1, which is incorrect. Now let's work on this question here. What's 0 divided by 1? The answer is 0. 0 to the anything is simply 0. Now what about this question here? 2/3 times 2/3. You can multiply across is simply 4/9. Another way of doing this question would be to spread the exponent love. This squared applies to the top and also to the bottom. So what we have is 2 squared over 3 squared, and the answer would be 4/9. Again, we have a question involving a negative sign in front. Remember that this means -1 times some power. We have -1/5 all cubed. So we're going to work on this part first because exponents should be evaluated before multiplication. Negative times negative times negative is indeed negative. So what we have is -1 times a negative number. Negative what? It's going to be -1/5 all cubed. So when we distribute the exponent to the top and to the bottom, 1 times 1 times 1 becomes 1. And 5 times 5 times 5 becomes 125. So we have a negative times a negative. The answer should be positive, 1 over 125. Finally, we have another cleaning up type question involving powers. Let's work inside out. We have x over something. So there's a hidden 1 here. We're going to subtract the powers. Now this 2 here is just a number. We're going to leave these all alone. We're going to leave the 2 alone on the bottom. We're going to keep this exponent 3. Now let's focus on the x's. What's 1 take away -2? Exponent law says when you have x to the 1 divided by x to the -2, you're supposed to subtract exponents. But be careful. This minus this, 1 minus the bottom number, which is a -2, is written such that 2 negatives make a positive. Be super careful. 1 plus 2 is 3. So the answer is x cubed. And we need to write the answer on the top. So x to the 1 divided by x to the -2 is x cubed. If you say that the answer is x cubed, put it on the top. If you're 3 years old, you put the number 3 on the top, the numerator, not the denominator. And this y cubed, we'll just leave it alone on the bottom. And now we can simply spread the exponent love, top and to the bottom. So recall, when you have x cubed all cubed, exponent bracket exponent, you multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. So we have x to the 9 all divided by, we have the denominator 2y cubed all cubed, because we're going to spread the exponent love to the top and to the bottom. Now don't forget about the coefficient. This cubing, the base here, needs to be applied also to the coefficient 2. So we have x to the 9 all divided by 2 cubed, which happens to be 8. Exponent, bracket, exponent. Don't add, multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. So this here is our final answer. Now for the sake of practice, let's try this problem again in a different way, which results in the same answer. So this last question here was, what's x over 2x to the negative 2y cubed, all cubed? Instead of cleaning up the inside, we're going to try spreading the exponent love to the top and the bottom right away. And let's see if we have the same answer, this one here. So spreading the exponent love, we have x cubed on the top, and on the bottom, we're going to cube the bottom. 2 cubed happens to be 8. And when we cube the bottom, let me just write it out. Let's go a little bit slower here. So we have 2x minus 2y cubed, all cubed. So the bottom essentially becomes 8x to the negative 2 times 3. We're spreading the exponent love here, here, and here. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Y to the 9, because we're multiplying. And you can see now it's getting simpler. What we have here is x to the 3, all divided by x to the negative 6. Remember that when you have x3 over x negative 6, we're going to take this number, 3 minus negative 6, which happens to be 3 plus 6, which is x to the 9. So the x's cancel, and what we end up with is x to the 9 as the answer for the x's. Now this number 8 remains on the bottom, and so does the y to the 9. And as you can see, this answer is the same as the one we got before. And now it's your turn. First, what's minus 2 bracket negative 1 to the 15? 2, what's 0 divided by 0, all to the exponent 0? Number 3, what's 1/5 all squared? Number 4, what's minus 2 bracket 3 over minus 2, all cubed? And finally, what's 3a to the 5 divided by 6a to the negative 2, all squared? Type in your answers into the comments.